Well, Simon Harris's life was split between two countries, Britain and Kenya, and so his victims, who were as young as 9. His first offences dated back to the 1980s, with the most recent committed just last spring. Harris, who was a former teacher from Herefordshire, ran a charity placing British gap year students in poor Kenyan schools. But the court heard that this was a front for his abuse of desperately vulnerable children. And police have never before convicted a UK citizen here for sex crimes in Africa. And it wouldn't have happened at all were it not for a chance encounter between a tearful street and the Channel 4 filmmaker, Wild Abuse. And just to warn you, our investigation does contain some very distressing details.
Do you still have, in your words, a perverse fascination with boys?
No comment.
For almost 2 years, Channel 4 has been on the trail of this man, Simon Harris.
Simon, what do you say about the abuse allegations against children in Kenya?
Today, after an unprecedented police operation, a jury found Harris guilty of abusing boys in Britain and Africa for decades.
We're pleased with the outcome of today's trial. Simon Harris is a manipulative, predatory sex offender who, over a number of years, has groomed and exploited children and has groomed those around him in order to perpetuate his abuse.
This story began here, more than 4,000 miles away in Kenya's Rift Valley. In the remote town of Gilgil, hundreds of abandoned children live in poverty on the streets. In February last year, a team from Channel 4's Unreported World joined local charity worker Dan and Nderitu to film their plight.
Kuna chakula, kuna nguo, kuna mattress, kuna blanketi.
One small boy was particularly distraught. He said a man called Simon Harris had threatened to take him to his house and to beat him up if he refused.
I think there is something that is fearing in this relationship.
He fears Simon Harris.
Yeah.
Who is Simon Harris?
Simon Harris is a certain white person whom I normally see along these streets with street children in his car.
Dan started to investigate. His endeavours led to the unmasking of one of Britain's most prolific sex offenders and raised disturbing questions about British paedophiles who, despite being convicted at home, are free to abuse abroad.
VAE is an organisation that brings gap year students in Kenya.
Simon Harris is a former boarding school teacher who ran a charity in Kenya.
It's very nice to live in a country where people greet you, where people smile at you. Here, everybody smiles at you, and that's refreshing.
But Harris was a convicted sex offender, jailed in Britain in 2009 after being caught with almost 350 indecent images of children, some of the most horrifying nature. In May last year, we travelled to Gilgil to take up the story. Dan has secured pictures of Harris picking up street children in his Land Rover and taking them back to his house. The kids know him so well they've given him their own nickname, Ngoso. We speak to one who's just 14 years old.
Sana nilichukuliwa na Ngoso. Nilichukuliwa na Ngoso, tukalala. Ani akatuchukua vijana 3 plus mimi.
Do you know the real name of Ngoso, the man you call Ngoso?
Anaitwa Simon. Alikuwa kwa kitanda, akaniambia nitoe nguo zote. Mimi nikatoa, kaanza kunipapasa mimi nikama.
The rest of his interview is too distressing to broadcast. This is where the boys say the abuse took place. Harris's remote home, hidden behind the trees and known locally as the greenhouse.
Kila siku nakaa huko. Usiku sasa lazima kwanza tuoge, tuoshwe. Kama kutuosha.
This boy is just 11 years old.
Kwa alishika makende ndo nilikataanga.
We're told about 2 men who say they were abused by Harris when they were children. We arranged to meet them on the roof of a disused building where they won't be seen. I'm Kathy. Hi. Good to meet you. Thank you.
Mwenye hiyo siku yenye Simon alinifanyiaga yenyewe siwezi sahau ni hiyo tu siku moja. Na hiyo mambo mimi nilinyamazana nayo kama siri. Ikakuwa tu ni kama siri. Mimi nilinyamazana nayo. Hata nimeitoa tu na uchungu juu. Alikuwa atuoshaka. Sasa usiku kama tumerara anaanza kupapasa.
We decide to go to the greenhouse. It's miles down a dirt track, far from prying eyes. Harris himself is away, but the first person we see is a young boy. Hi. Who introduces us to the house manager. Hi, I'm Kathy. Georgie invites us in.
He's the one of the boys Simon is sponsoring to school.
Beautiful place.
This is his office here.
It's a shame Simon wasn't here to talk to us, actually. It would have been really good to do an
this-
interview with him too.
This is his office where also VA, if they want to work, they come here.
Georgie tells us Harris rescued him from a life on the streets 8 years ago. Since then, a great many street boys have spent time at the greenhouse.
It's every day, like Simon, since I have been here, there must be street boys here, either 4 or 6.
The Kenyan authorities were told about Harris, but nothing was done about it. We took our evidence to the police here at the Child Exploitation and Online Protection Centre. The evidence was so convincing, it led to an unprecedented operation. The first time ever that British officers have travelled to Africa to investigate and prosecute a UK citizen for sex crimes. We've flown to Kenya with British Child Exploitation Officer Kelvin Lay and his team. They've joined up with Kenyan police and are preparing to raid the greenhouse.
Okay, yeah, we're just arriving at the house. Require the seizure of any computers, laptops, pornographic materials, still images, video cameras, tapes, compact discs and any other material relevant to promotion of sexual offences with the child. Searches are ready to go.
They begin their search but quickly realise that some items are missing.
I understand that previously there were 2 desktop computers here.
There was one computer there and one computer there, and there's now just the one there.
After 5 hours, they break into a locked room.
Just going to put your foot through it.
Yeah.
There they find more hard drives and a computer.
Okay, so these are the exhibits that we've got so far. You'll see there's a bag full here that's been taken.
They managed to glean enough from the computer,
towers
cameras and dozens of interviews carried out by the British team in Kenya to charge Harris with offences against boys as young as 6. Just days after the raid, he's arrested in Herefordshire.
28 child victims have alleged that they have been sexually abused, and a number have had indecent photographs taken of them whilst in Kenya. They have identified you as the person being responsible. How do you explain that, Mr. Harris?
No comment.
But then comes a massive breakthrough. After travelling halfway across the globe, the police investigation takes them to Shabir College in Devon, where Harris was a housemaster in the 1980s. There they discover he was abusing British children decades ago.
Oh, fabulous. Here's copies of statements in which it is alleged that you entered the boys' rooms on numerous occasions and massaged them. It's extremely important, obviously, for our Kenyan case. It goes to show, you know, how long this man has been offending.
Here at Birmingham Crown Court, Simon Harris astonished the police by pleading guilty to 6 indecent assaults against 3 boys in Devon. offences he'd committed a quarter of a century ago. But he denied ever abusing anyone in Kenya. The jury, though, disagreed. After an 8-week trial, they found Harris guilty of 8 indecent and sexual assaults against Kenyan boys and 4 counts of possessing indecent images. The police hope this groundbreaking case will serve as a warning to British sex offenders that their crimes will be detected and punished wherever they are. It's an extraordinary achievement, not least for Dan, the charity worker who made it all happen.
You couldn't imagine this happening to children, and particularly children so vulnerable. I cannot emphasize more how desperate street children are. I would say it is the day of justice to these children.
Well, tragically, today's verdict has simply come too late for one of Harris's alleged victims who took his own life just over a week ago. The jury was told about the death of Michael Commondis after they delivered their verdicts. Some looked shocked and several appeared close to tears. The remaining victims will find out in January what sentence their abuser will get. But there was also an application yesterday by Simon Harris's barristers to dismiss the entire trial. This related to the publication of an article by ITN, which produces Channel 4 News, on our website before the verdict. Channel 4 News has apologised unreservedly for publishing a draft article in error within its website. As soon as we were made aware of the error, we removed the piece. Jury members confirmed none of them saw the article, but the matter has been referred to the Attorney General.